interesting.
Okay.
They had declined as they had recently stopped accepting visitors because another greenhouse, Exotic Plants Plus, had recently been burglarized 3 months earlier and only Nepenthes had been taken.
Was Dom on vacation in the area at the time? Okay. Let's take a sip of tea of the town.
All right, Linda, are you ready for another plant drama?
Ooh, plant gardening drama?
Mm-hmm.
Heck yeah.
We already did one
Yeah.
where you covered the whole COVID craze. This is another one that's actually surprisingly similar.
Really?
I'm calling this one Pitcher Plant Pilfering
Okay.
because I love alliteration. And this is about drama in the carnivorous plant community.
Okay.
So plants that like eat bugs
Yeah.
and mice and
Yeah.
fish and
I
stuff.
watched that one play with Seymour in it. Exactly. So it's just like that.
You're
right?
basically an expert.
Little Shop of Horrors.
Little Shop of Horrors. It's just like that. And I'm going to start by saying this is all alleged.
Okay, all alleged.
There has been nothing that has been actually, no charges have
Yeah.
been formally filed.
Okay.
No court of law has adjudicated this. This is all alleged. So let's.
And this is a gossip and tea podcast, so take it for what it's worth. Entertainment purposes only.
Entertainment
But
purposes
we're still
only.
going to be entertained by this story.
We will be entertained. All right. So what the heck is a pitcher plant? This is a pitcher plant, and it's actually called the Nepenthes pitcher plant. It's known for its very bright, diverse colors, and it gets nutrients from little insects that fall into it, and it has like digestive fluid in its little cup, and it will boil down the little insects and eat that, and that's how it gets its nutrients. And there's all sorts of varieties.
Do you know where my brain goes with this type of thing?
Please tell me.
So like, this is gonna sound weird, but when I was a kid, I feel like I had a fear of like falling into pits and quicksand and those types of things, like in a weird way. I don't know why. I think it has to do with the movie Littlefoot, because an earthquake happened and he got separated from his mom in the earthquake. I was also terrified of earthquakes and wanted to go everywhere with my mother because I thought we were going to get separated in an earthquake. I was a weird kid.
You poor
Anyway, I was getting sidetracked. But like I was afraid of falling into stuff. And I thought it would be more of a problem in my life, like the risk of falling into stuff. My head immediately goes to the poor, like, insect children who are running around playing with each other and then they fall into the pit of death.
They're living your childhood fear. Which, as a funny side note to that, related, unrelated, is my mom in high school was voted most likely to fall into a manhole.
Oh my gosh.
And I think about that from time to every time I see a manhole, I'm just like, Mom. So yeah, I love the through lines that we've made here with our own lives and this pitcher plant. So the other thing to know about these plants is that they range very greatly in price. There's like more common ones that I was looking online just to see, and most of them looked like they were going for about $10. So very
yeah.
But the rare kind.
So you too can have your own death trap.
You too can have a death trap, and I love that. But the more expensive rare ones were going for thousands of dollars. I was on this one website and like their most expensive one was like $2,500.
Okay, so we're talking serious money.
We're talking
for the
serious money.
Okay.
All right, so let's get into the drama with these plants. This starts with a company called Sunbell Exotics, and this is actually back in October of 2008, so way back. And in fact, this is a screenshot that I pulled from the Wayback Machine, so some of the images aren't, there anymore, but like this is the last known image I could find of their website. Sunbell Exotics was like a big player in the exotic carnivorous plant community, and what they were known for was they had a very expansive collection of super expensive Nepenthes pitcher plants, and like that was kind of their thing. Well, in October of 2008, they were burglarized.
Okay, so this is where the pilfering comes in.
And what they noticed was of all the things that got stolen, it was just a few very rare, high value pitcher plants.
Someone knows what they're doing.
Someone knows what they're doing. And the reason why this was suspicious is because there were other specimens there that were like really big and beautiful and colorful. And if you didn't know, if you weren't an expert in this community, you would likely go for those and be like, oh, I'm going to get these ones because they look fancy.
Yeah.
But those were completely untouched.
And just the fact that you're like robbing a plant shop, robbing a nursery, like you're not going to do that unless you're fully, and you're not like doing it to go for the cash register.
100%.
You have to be in the know.
100%. And so it was very obvious from the jump that this was not an outsider from the hobby who did this. Like, and the community, especially at this time, was a lot smaller. So, you know,
the suspect group is small.
So when this happens, Sunbelt Exotic goes and they make this post on a well-known like plant forum, just reaching out to the community and saying, you know, this has happened, and starting to also compile a list of suspects.
Yeah.
And after they make this post, you know, the people in the community are super upset about it. They kind of are putting their eyes out. Well, someone reaches out to them and contacts Sunbelt Exotics about an eBay posting that they see for a 3-inch seedling of what sounded like one of the hybrids that had gotten stolen. Yes.
Okay, so they have a
like,
lead.
Hey, I see something. There's a lead here.
Yeah.
And they messaged the seller because they already knew. So they were like, okay, let me get some more information.
Yeah. See if I can go FBI on these guys.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And ask a little bit more about the plant, because apparently this was just a basil cutting. So instead of like being grown from a seed, it's a cutting off of a mother plant that they then grow into its own. They propagate into its own. And so they asked about the mother plant that it came from and had the seller describe it. And the seller describes that plant, which sounded exactly like one of the stolen plants.
But like, don't all plants look the same?
Not these ones.
Oh, really?
These ones have all sorts of shapes and colors and sizes. And so it's not like, I mean, for us, all plants probably look the same.
Yeah,
because
like
we
an oak tree. An oak leaf looks like a circle.
Or I think for both of us, like all of our plants just look like maybe dead plants. And so we're like,
cannot confirm nor deny.
I don't think either of us are maybe necessarily the experts here.
Not qualified.
But no, so they describe the stolen plant, which sounds just like the stolen plant.
Yeah.
So they're like, this is a good lead.
Yeah.
And the seller of this plant on eBay is Dom Gravine.
Okay, Dom.
He's a popular eBay seller in the community.
Okay.
And quickly jumps up to suspect number 1. And here's why. Because we're doing some sleuthing.
Yes.
They went into detective mode and they found him suspicious for several reasons. Number 1, he had recently moved to the Fort Lauderdale area, which was only about a half hour away from their greenhouse.
So he's in the area.
He's in the area.
He's in the vicinity. He had the opportunity. Okay.
Number 2, he had recently asked to visit the greenhouse. And here's what's really interesting.
Okay.
They had declined as they had recently stopped accepting visitors because another greenhouse, Exotic Plants Plus, a different one, had recently been burglarized 3 months earlier and only Nepenthas had been taken.
Was Dom on vacation in the area at the time? Okay.
So that's the thing. Like, I think it's funny that he had asked to visit and they had specifically said no because of this burglary. And they're like, we don't want to risk it. And so they had contacted the owner of Exotic Plants Plus, whose name was Tony, who had told them that Dom had visited 2 years earlier to their location.
Their greenhouse.
And a year later, he had tried to buy plants, but allegedly, was delinquent on payment and had attempted to visit on multiple occasions earlier in that year, but was refused. And the plants that had been taken from their greenhouse were all in areas that Dom had seen when he visited.
Suspicious, Dom.
Mad suspicious.
Suspicious, allegedly, in my opinion.
Allegedly, in my opinion. But, like, you have to admit, these dominoes,
they're starting to add up.
they're starting to add up. They're starting to fall in line.
Circumstantial evidence.
Not looking good.
Oh, my goodness.
So what do, right? They're like, give us our plants. Well, first, actually,
Yeah.
they tried to file a police report.
Oh, did they?
And the police were like, it's plants.
Police, come on. If it's an expensive plant, though, it's still theft. It doesn't matter where the property is.
But I guess they had said, well, you clearly already think you know who it is, so why don't you try to talk it out with Dom and ask for the plants?
I love the police going like, well, you can do our job.
You can do it.
Yeah.
And I think the other thing was like, again, this is all circumstantial. They don't have proof, so they're like, but it seems like. So they reached out to Dom and said, if he gives the plants back, all is forgotten. Otherwise, if he didn't, they were going to go public with this story. Yes. So this is like private DMs of this. Yeah. They're like, hey, no harm, no foul. Give us our plants. We're all good. Otherwise, I will besmirch your besmirchable name.
Oh my gosh.
But here's the thing. Dom pulls an Uno reverse card.
Oh no.
He makes a post himself.
Oh, Dom. Oh my God. It's dramatic.
Yes. And he says, I'm being, they're claiming that I stole their plants. How dare they? And he claims
they're coming after me.
They're coming after
I'm
me.
an innocent collector, death trap machine.
Exactly. He claims he bought the plant from a friend who attended the New England Carnivorous Plant Show in September. And this friend purchased the plant and then gave it to him.
Okay.
Now, here's a funny thing that happens.
Why would you, I mean, that's a very rare, expensive plant. Why would you give it away? Was it a gift? Was it your birthday?
No, maybe he bought it and then Dom bought it from him.
Yeah.
I don't know the backstory because his post has been deleted.
Okay. Oh, he's deleting posts.
Suspicious.
Allegedly, in my opinion. Okay.
So here's a funny thing that happens sometimes. So when Sunbelt made their initial post, I think it got some some attention in the community, but it wasn't this huge on fire thing.
Yeah.
And sometimes when people will call things out to try to calm things down, it actually has a reverse effect. And there's a nickname for it, the Streisand effect.
Oh yeah.
And I think that's kind of what happened here. And for people who don't know, Streisand had filed a lawsuit many years ago to get an aerial picture of her home removed because she didn't want the attention, but then the lawsuit just drew attention. And I think that's kind of what happened here. Yeah. Because all of a sudden there's a lot of eyes on this now, because that's kind of scandalous for someone to say, I'm being accused of theft.
It's super scandalous. And sometimes the first one to the punchline to set the narrative, then you have to try to get on the other side of the narrative versus being the one to set the tone. That's a huge, getting in front of it like that to get in people's minds first.
Yeah.
To be like, hey, this is a big bad plant. Big plant is after me.
Yes.
An innocent consumer and collector who is a purveyor of fine death trap plants.
Yes.
And
I think that's what he thought was going to happen. And I think there's also this thing of if you publicly come out and say this is what's going on,
then you're innocent.
If you were guilty, you wouldn't do that.
Right.
So I think that's allegedly, in my opinion, what's going on in Dom's head when he makes this post. But now there's eyes on it. Now people are looking at it.
People want to know.
And people are still mad suspicious. And they're like, I don't know. So the broader community at this point is getting involved in the drama, and they start digging.
Okay, so what do the plant people say? I must know.
So given that at the time, the carnivorous plant community was pretty niche.
Yeah.
There were actually, at that show, there were only 2 carnivorous plant tables.
Okay.
So someone in the community decides, well, I'm going to call them. I only have to make 2 phone calls, so I'm going to make those 2 phone calls. And that is what they did. They called and asked, hey, were you selling this hybrid?
Yeah.
And guess what? They
No
weren't.
one's selling the hybrid.
No one was selling the hybrid.
Oh,
So not looking good for Dom.
not looking good at all. Like, get out your smoking guns.
Yes.
Mm-mm.
Exactly. So now the community's in an uproar because they're like, Dom, you've just been caught in a lie.
You're lying.
You're lying.
It doesn't even matter if the lie, you were covering up something else. You've lied in a situation where you're being accused of thievery and debauchery, allegedly, in my opinion. And so people are not going to trust you, man.
No.
No.
He is a liar, pitcher pants on fire. You know? Yeah.
Okay, that's a good one.
So as a result of this, he becomes ostracized from the community. Like, he already was kind of on thin ice for the people that knew him, because I guess a lot of times he was overpricing his plants already. So people didn't like that piece of it, because he was a popular seller on eBay. But now he's allegedly a thief. And so he would try to make posts, and I guess people would just spam comments like of him being a thief and stuff like that.
I love this for that community, though.
They come together and they're like, we're not taking.
You're being voted off the island right now.
Oh, 1,000%. That being said, the community was playing checkers, but Dom was playing chess.
What's happening?
So this is what I've learned, is apparently when it comes to carnivorous plants, they are particularly frustrating and time-consuming and expensive compared to other plants. Because in order to keep them alive, you have to create, most of them are like tropical plants. Right. So you have to create this artificial environment to keep them alive, or you're making like a little mini rainforest in your home in Ohio.
And
so
you have to feed Seymour.
And you have to feed Seymour and do little bugs. And there's also the side drama about, like, there's this debate of the morality of feeding fish to carnivorous plants, but I digress.
What?
Yeah, I don't know. Some people were for it, some people were against.
Fish?
Apparently. I was like, oh, gross. Not for me. Not mine.
Fly? Okay.
But like dropping a little fish, too far for me personally. Anyways, it's a really expensive hobby. So, and because it's so expensive, it's, hard to make a lot of money on it.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of seller turnover. So all he had to do was wait. He was like, if I give this enough time,
people are going to forget.
It's gonna be
a new audience.
And I can come through. And not only that, but while he was waiting, he started this friendship and connection with a really key player in this community, specifically known for his hybrids of these pitcher plants. It was like an Australian-based company that had also super rare hybrids and cultivars. And apparently they like bonded over their love of Nepenthes plants and carnivorous plants as a whole. I guess they were also like kind of politically aligned in a way that the rest of the community wasn't. So they bonded over that.
Yeah.
And he's like, this is someone who I want to align myself with. And this is someone who's going to help me out when the time comes.
Oh my gosh.
So he lays low.
Yeah.
He lays low, and he's like, I'm not going to make a stir. The only thing he did do is apparently he created some fake accounts to still sell some of his products to keep some income in.
Of course he did.
But for the most part, for years, he was
quiet.
He was quiet.
He waited it out.
And while he waited it out, Dom worked out a deal where he would become the sole distributor of Exotica plants, that Australian-based company, in the U.S.
So he's cornered the market for some super rare high.
He has cornered the
market. You have to go to the alleged thief to get the goods.
And in 2019, so now we are 11 years later.
Wow.
He starts a company called Red Leaf Exotics.
Okay.
Yes. And now, like we've mentioned, he's got a monopoly. Because at this time, Sunbelt Exotic, the reason why I had to do the Wayback Machine, they're no longer around.
So they can't accuse him of anything.
They can't accuse him of anything. So like we said, there was churn, and a lot of the sellers ended up fading away. And now this specific varietal, he is the sole distributor in the US. He has a monopoly on the market, and there's nothing that anyone can do about it.
Oh my gosh. Except for pilfer his plants from his greenhouse.
So here's the thing that's kind of interesting. Like, Well, at first, his
Yeah.
business was kind of slow because a lot of people, especially like established
Yeah.
community members, were like, fuck no.
No, we're not letting you back in.
Remember.
Yeah.
So his business was mostly comprised of like newcomers to the hobby who didn't know the lore.
Mm-hmm.
But eventually, even the people that were upset with him started to cave because
They want their plants.
it didn't matter that like I guess the plants were also overpriced. And I guess a lot of times he didn't have the best track record, allegedly, of delivering them in the best conditions. Like some of them, people reported them having like root rot and things like that. But it didn't matter because he was the only game in town.
When you have a monopoly, you can behave badly.
Exactly. But like anything in life, things are cyclical. I think, you know, he couldn't be the only person in town forever.
Yeah.
And so similarly, like as the hobby grew, people began to successfully mimic these hybrids. And
good for them.
Yes. So they started, because I guess what you can do is like, and again, not experts here, like I'm doing my best. Apparently you can like graft plants together and make hybrids. And so you can like invent.
You can invent new plants.
You can invent new plants. Yeah. And so that's what this like Exotica plants thing was doing. But people were figuring out like,
this is if one person can do it, I can do it. We're making a dupe.
And here's what's funny. Apparently, allegedly, these were so good that Dom supposedly began to accuse others of stealing his plant.
Oh, Dom.
Oh, Dom.
Oh, Dom.
I know. So, like with everything that we see in life, whenever there's new products, new things, new whatever, competition usually wins. And I looked, and now there's actually a lot of different pitcher plant games in town. There's more companies that have expanded, much more than there was in 2008. But Dom is still operating, running his business.
Dom doesn't dominate.
But he doesn't dominate.
But he's still there.
And that's the tea of exotic plants. And if you made it this far, let us know by dropping a little plant emoji in our comments.
Yes. And there's a couple of different plant options, emojis. So drop us your favorite plant emoji in the comments. So let us know you made it to the end. Also, I want to tell you a story about so I love all of these investigative things that people happen in communities. They're like, we're going full FBI. I'm going to tell you a random side quest story.
Oh, yes.
Okay, so this is really dumb, but I have a conspiracy theory about my childhood.
I love your conspiracy theories.
I love them too. They're all stupid, but I'm going to share them anyway. Okay, so I was in the GATE program when I was a kid, right? Yeah, so it stands for Gifted and Talented Education, and they basically pull you out of your regular classroom and put you, for me, it was like you went in a little side building, and they would do these special activities with you. And in hindsight, I'm like, I think they were testing us for the CIA.
Oh,
because one of the things we always did is we would play these detective games where they would tell you these riddles and these stories, and you had to point out why the facts didn't line up, or what the clue was, or what the solve was to the puzzle, and what the inconsistency was, and that was for almost an entire year of GATE. That was one of the things that we did on a very regular basis. And so my conspiracy theory is this was just a CIA testing ground for smart kids, and they put them in a room for which ones can make the cut. I don't think I did.
Love that so much. I think my GATE experience was slightly different. They had us, we could do our own little science experiments. Each week we would come and present. And the one thing that I remember, there wasn't much I remember from it, but the one thing is that I found there was you could make soda, and it was this is how you make soda with carbonation and stuff. And I made the world's worst root beer and shared it with the class. And I think I forgot sugar or something incredibly key, because everyone was like,
that's disgusting. Thank you.
How'd you get into this program?
You're out.
That's the tea.
That is the horrible root beer.
Cheers to pitcher plants.
Yeah, cheers to pitcher plants.
Cheers.
Let's take a sip of tea.